Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Soul Stories with Kate Ingersoll Mazeris. And today we're going to talk about the Cancer soul story. So, if you were born around June 21st through July 21st, this is your time to shine. I am very familiar with Cancer energy. I have significant Cancer in my chart, even though my sun sign is not in Cancer. So, I am very familiar with the energy of this sign and how it has played itself out in my life. But remember, every person is different. Every journey is different. Every soul is different. So as you listen today, this might resonate with you if you are a sun sign in Cancer, or if you have a Cancer rising, a moon in Cancer, or significant planets through Saturn in Cancer. Jupiter just had its return to Cancer. It's exalted in this sign. So this past year, from like around June 2025 until the end of I want to say it's like mid to end of July when it flips over to Leo, we've had Jupiter in this sign of Cancer. So your life might have been influenced with Cancerian archetypes. So let's talk about this today. The main quote for Cancer is, I seek myself through what I feel. If you remember in last month's soul story of Gemini, Gemini seeks itself through what it thinks. Well, now we're going to get past the thinking mind and into the heart, which is why I chose this image of my bleeding hearts. I love bleeding hearts. They're beautiful. I think they're very delicate. And when they open, I think they add such a wonderful dimension. Bleeding hearts can have a dual connotation. But what I think the most beautiful attribute of Cancer is empathy and sympathy. They can feel both, and we're going to talk about that today. The glyph over here on the bottom right, or excuse me, bottom left hand sign, I think it kind of looks like two sixes on its side. Cancer, of course, is a water sign. And so this represents the area around the chest or the heart or the breasts. So Cancer energy is all about home and nurturing. So let's take a look at the Cancer journey. Cancer is symbolized by the crab. And if you remember when we talked about the Scorpio journey, that's ruled by the scorpion, and then Pisces is ruled by the fish. All these elements, crab, Scorpio, fish, they can all live in the water. But crabs and scorpions can come out. And obviously, the Cancer, the crab can come into the water and come out of the water. So we'll talk about the symbolism of that in just a moment. It is a cardinal water sign. Cancer begins on the day of the summer solstice when the sun is at its zenith, at its height. It is a water sign, so that makes it feminine. And it is the only sign of the zodiac ruled by the moon. It's the only one. So if you have a moon in Cancer, as I do, that's an exalted place. That is the best place for the moon in your chart. And depending on the house where it is, it's going to manifest itself differently. I'll talk about mine in just a minute here. The glyph represents the world mother, the breasts, the blending of sperm and egg, and its life force energy. Because Cancer takes place during the growing season, the sun is dominant, but it's starting to decrease. So, the height of the growing season is Cancer. And so Cancer energy nurtures things into being. So that's what parents do, right? It represents animals growing into the fullness of life. So at its heart, a good parent allows its child to grow into the fullness of their life with support, with love. So Cancer energy is connected to mothering, and I would also say fathering, although Leo's a little more like that. It represents our home life, our childhood experiences, our emotional and behavior patterns from domestication. Now, domestication is just how we were raised. A child thinks that the way they were raised is the way all of life is until they get out in the world a little more. So Cancer strives to protect its sensitivity. Cancer energy is very sensitive. So to protect itself, the reason it's symbolized by the crab is because the crab has the hard shells and the pinchers. And so if you push someone who has Cancer energy in their chart, particularly like a moon in Cancer like I have, if you push me and push at my sensitivity, I have a moon in the 12th house, so I don't necessarily pinch you out in the world, but I will pinch you in private in my journals or in my own inner dialogue. I will strive to protect myself because if I'm hurt, I'm going to hurt. And for me, I don't hurt others necessarily outwardly, but I'll take that energy inwardly because it's in the 12th house. If I had a moon in the first, you're going to see it. If I have a moon in the third house, you're going to hear it through the way I communicate. If I have a moon in the seventh house, then you're going to be in that energy in relationships. So it's just different in the way that it expresses itself, depending on where it is in your chart. This is a maternal drive capable of fierce action, and I mean fierce. So it's like a mother lioness with her cubs. If you come across a Cancer parent and their child is being threatened, get out of the way because they will want to protect the tribe, the country, and the family at all costs. I think Cancer energy is very tribal. So if you have a lot of Cancer energy in your chart, if you're a Cancer sun, your family life has significant influence on you. And I mean significant. Um, People who have a lot of Cancer energy in their chart often keep the secrets of the family. The shadow is to keep the negative secrets, but the light is like someone who would scrapbook a family vacation or keep a journal of the family lineage or do genealogy to find out where they're connected to people in the past and how their family extrapolates into this world now. And they will protect it at all costs. Because this is a cardinal water, the first sign of the season, cardinal energy is really strong in whatever element it is. So this is a very sensitive sign. It is an emotionally sensitive sign. When I talked about the Scorpio journey, they're a psycho-emotional sensitivity, and then Pisces is the spiritual psycho-emotional sensitivity. The Cancer is more like human sensitivity. So the archetypes are the mother and the father, the psychic, like this is like women's intuition, or, and a mother will call their child when they feel that they're in distress because they're so connected to them emotionally. This is the witch in a good way, not a mean witch, but like a healthy witch who can transform energy through emotional compassion and love. But this can also be the snob and the helicopter parent. And that's why I pulled this meme off the internet, not to be critical or insulting to Cancer people. But the shadow of Cancer energy is someone who pretends to be something that they're not. So people will think that they are a good parent. So there was a woman that was on YouTube, and I can't remember her name, but she's in prison with the woman who was her counselor because they abused their children so badly. But on their YouTube channel, they wanted to appear to be very significant in their parenting. Like this is the way all people should parent, but they were damaging their children. I mean, deeply damaging their children. And I looked up the birth date of the mother because I thought, what kind of mother does this? And she's a Cancer. And so, a lot of times I'll talk with women and the ones that are the most controlling of their kids or the ones who acquiesce power to their kids can sometimes be Cancer because they're not sure how to take care of themselves and how to build up their own self-worth and their own self-esteem so they can be a healthy parent. Now, I have not had children in this lifetime, although that was the number one thing I wanted from the time I was a child. I wanted to have a family of my own and have children. That did not work out for me. But I've been a teacher of hundreds of kids, and I've taught a lot of people. I've been an aunt to a lot of children. I've nurtured a lot of kids. And I look back on, had I had a child in my 20s, I would have been a helicopter parent because I would have had such high anxiety because I didn't know how to take care of myself. It's not that I would have pretended to be a great mom. I just wouldn't know how to nurture my kids because I didn't know how to nurture myself. So let's take a look here at the Cancer soul journey. And I love this. You see this mother here loving herself. The Cancer soul journey is to release ties to the past in order to live more fully in the present as a divine beacon of light and love. And how do you do that in this culture? Sometimes you go into therapy, sometimes you get body work, sometimes you look at the broad trajectory of your family life and what you were taught and what your parents were taught and what they were taught and what they were taught. And you learn how to have compassion for all of it, including yourself. Here's an interesting concept to think of that's very Cancerian. A baby girl is born with all of the eggs in her ovaries that she will ever have in a lifetime. They're not mature, of course, but they're in her body when she's born. So the egg that created you and created all of us was inside of our mother when she was inside of her mother. And so all the life experiences that her mother had during pregnancy and birth are are affected. You're affected by that. And then all the life experiences that your mother had from the time she was born until you were born, you're affected by that. It's energetic lineage. It's not just physical lineage. I think that's an interesting thing to think about. And so our family lineage and the patterns of the past do not have to repeat if they're unhealthy. Of course, we want to bring the beautiful things that our families have taught us forward. But the most important thing, if you have significant Cancer energy in your chart, is to learn how to have love and compassion for yourself so that you're not operating in the shadow. Sometimes ties to family life may have been toxic, and this is not to be judgmental. It's just the way that people learn how to be in this world. So Cancers tend to want to create a family life of their own. Sometimes because they had a wonderful family. I know a guy that I knew that I taught with had an incredibly wonderful family, and he's created a family of his own. I haven't spent time with him recently, but he has two children, and I'm certain he is a phenomenal father, and he is a Cancer. Cancers desire safety and security so they can go out in the world, but have a home base in which to be vulnerable. And that is very true for me. My home life is very important to me. My home is my sanctuary. I taught yoga out of here. People used to call my yoga room the womb room, which is very true. But ironically enough, for the past 26 years, I've had traumatic events very close to my home that within family systems that have nothing to do with mine. And it has threatened the security of my home. My home has been broken into, there's been crime, there's been domestic violence, drug abuse, all of that in close proximity to my home. So this is a lesson that I have had to learn, that it is hard for me to relax in my home and be vulnerable and to do the inner work. I've learned how to compartmentalize, which is very hard, but it has been a journey for me to recognize I have this need for security, for safety, and I have not felt that in a long time. So I'm making plans to move when I can, because the Cancer energy in me is calling forth for security and safety, but not in a locked frame, but just in a peaceful environment. So if a Cancer's needs were not fully met in childhood, they can put them first as they grow older, and not in a selfish way, but in a self-focused way. Sometimes people will reach a certain point in their lives, especially if they're young parents and they see themselves repeating patterns, they'll get into therapy. They'll get into self-healing practices so that they can take care of getting their needs met, so that they can meet the needs of their family or their responsibilities from an adult place and not that child place. Cancers can be phenomenal parents when they are in their light. They can be the mother or the father of the world because they can be so nurturing and know how to help others from this well of love and compassion. They're also keepers of the flame, and they keep memories of the past. I think they write wonderful memoirs. They tell stories of history. They connect the journeys of each individual family member into this beautiful tapestry that we are all part of the whole. And when Cancer is in its most brilliant expression, it sees all, even if it's not all light, they can see all light and shadow. Like the Gemini journey was to see the full spectrum. Cancer can see the full spectrum and have compassion for it all and for themselves. I think that's the thing that Cancer needs to learn is to have compassion for the self, to not be so selfless that your needs come last on the list. So just a quick story. When I was 13, I was a Bible school instructor. I was so excited. It was my first time teaching children, and I was just overjoyed to be teaching Bible school. And the theme of the week was the joy method, the JOY method. And so every morning we would go into the sanctuary, and the leader of the Bible school would stand up in front of all of us with a bottle of Joy dishwashing liquid, like a Price is Right gal. And she would say, now remember, the theme of the week is to put Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. JOY. And if you live this way, you will be happy. Well, I bought that hook, line, and sinker. That was part of the domestication of my childhood, that I believed if I put Jesus first, others second, and myself last all the time, I would be happy. Well, as you can imagine, that was not the case. To put myself last at the expense of others, particularly others who were toxic, overly dramatic, overly needy, getting involved in situations that were not mine to help or assist. I tried to save a lot of children who lived next door to me, and no system, no tribe helped me. The police didn't work, children's services didn't work, nothing worked, and it still hasn't to this day. So I had to learn to say, well, that is not mine. I've done my best. Let me take care of myself. I think that undoing that joy method has taken a long time. And so with cancers going through a healing journey, you might need to be dismantling things in a way that's safe and healthy for you so that you can rebuild what family means, what compassion is, and what community is in a way that you're included as an equal part of it. I know that's a lot of heavy stuff, but Cancer is an emotional energy. So if you have a sun, a moon, a rising, or if you have significant Cancer energy in your chart, this is your time to heal and grow and shine and become more of who you are. If you're interested in my workshops that I'm teaching this year or in connecting with me for a natal chart reading, I'll put all that information in the description below. So enjoy your Cancer journey this month, and I'll see you next month when we talk about the Leo soul story. Have a great day, everybody.